take my money.
Introducing the Kentucky Original Wrap from KFC. It's a crispy original recipe fillet in a lightly toasted tortilla with black pepper mayo and iceberg lettuce. It's €2.90. It's a deal. And it's available at KFC now. Grab it before it goes. Until February 9th, subject to availability. Participating restaurants only. Not available on delivery. See website for full T's and C's.
Coming up on this episode of the Mario Rosenstock Podcast.
I had 4 months left on that tour. I'd kind of spent the money because I'd spent a year writing the show, half a year promoting the show. All the tickets were sold, but now I wasn't going to get to do the work. I was so grim. I was just like, oh no.
Because this was your jumping off point now. This was you flying.
Yeah, and I was like, how am I going to survive now?
Well, as the saying goes, it takes many years to become an overnight success. And this is something that Chris Kent knows all about. An electrician by trade turned comedian. Chris spent years grafting hard on the comedy scene, and things were really starting to take off for him. But then COVID hit, and well, we all know what happened then. Every single gig was cancelled, and Chris didn't get back up on stage for years. In fact, he had to go back to being an electrician to make ends meet and support his family. But today, Chris is back, bigger and better than ever, back on the horse, and to use a phrase, he is killing it, selling out venues all over Ireland and the UK. He's genuinely breaking through as a big comedian and making a huge impact online with his videos also. He tells me his fascinating origin story, and we go deep on all things comedy, writing and life as a performer on this episode of the Mario Rosenstock Podcast.
So I was doing 60 hours, 70 hours some weeks, then driving all around the country trying to do gigs. So my wife was like, just give up the job and put out all of the clips. Start putting out all of your clips online. So that's kind of where it all started. That's where it came from. We went in to have a look around, and the estate agent was kind of looking at us. He's like, you're not Dubsy? And we were like, no. He's like, Culchies. I knew that, yeah. He's like, you got Culchie features.
Jesus Christ.
And we were like, nothing to do with our accents, and we've been talking.
And was he Dub?
He was from Roscommon. I swear to God. And it was a very strange experience.
Right.
Where it quickly shifted from, I want you to model, to, I think, would you ever think about doing pornography?
Okay.
And I was like, no,
Did
you're
it really?
fine. I swear to God.
He was actually interested in making porn.
I swear to God, yeah. She said, can you sign the accident report form before you take Jack today, Daddy? And I said, I will, of course. But look, just before I do, is he going to lose his no claims bonus?
And I think if you were a fan of comedy and behind the scenes at comedy and what it's like putting it together, etc., I think you'll really enjoy this chat with Chris. And my full chat with him coming up in just a few minutes' time, right after some comedy of our own, because this is exclusive comedy on the Mario Rosenstock podcast. And this week, something incredible happened. We managed to hack into the voicemails of Met Aaron, would you believe? Here we go. You've reached Met Aaron. To listen to us having a stab at tomorrow's weather, press 1. To scare yourself to death, press 2. For inquiries about how Sweden has had this kind of weather for the last 1,000 years every day, yet nobody's died, press 3. For all other complaints, press 4. Hi guys, it's Miriam O'Callaghan here. Well look, listen, I was watching the weather on Met Aaron last night, and you guys promised, was it 14 tons of snow? Now listen, I've 8 kids, and they were all set to go with snowmen this morning. They had the scarves ready, they had the shovels ready to dig the snow, they had the carrots for the noses, and they were wanting to go tobogganing in Rathmines. And they woke up this morning, nothing. Not a fucking flake. I want that bitch, Joanna Donnelly, or whatever her name is, in prime time tonight at my desk to answer to the people. Bye, guys. Good morning. This is the Taoiseach Simon Harris here with a message for Met Aaron, thanking you sincerely for the great work that you are doing presently, particularly in the area of taking the attention off the, how shall we call it, the shit show that is government formation at the moment with the Healy Rays and Larry and everything. Absolutely doing a great job, and thank you for your sterling work and continued success winding people up and driving people mad. Thank you. Good afternoon to you. I'm Joe Duffy here. Thank you, Met Aaron, for 2 weeks of live line programmes. Just have to sit back and let the calls come in. People are going absolutely crazy. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. This is Michael O'Leary. Talk about snowflakes. The only snowflakes I see are in Met Aaron. Bunch of pinko liberal Nancy woke boys. This was absolutely crazy what's going on here with their yellow and orange warnings and their red warnings. What do you think the hell this is? Sesame Street or something? Grow up and shut up. Get your scarves on. I wouldn't mind. But listen, half the Irish people flying away this morning weren't going to Santa Ponza. They were going to Bratislava, you idiots. -20. Wake up.
And exclusive comedy every week on the Mario Rosenstock Podcast. And if you have any ideas for comedy or any characters you'd like to see me doing that I haven't done before, get in touch. It's mariorosenstock@gmail.com. As I've said to you before, I read them all and I get back to most of you. And please tell one other person about this podcast. But first, a word of thanks to our sponsor, On Ice. Could you get a more topical sponsor than On Ice in the conditions we're living in at the moment? The whole country is on ice. And Ireland's premium ice skating experience is On Ice. Now, you mightn't have to go to On Ice to go skating, but I suggest you do go to On Ice to go skating because they are nationwide, well, almost nationwide, with locations in Dublin, Dundrum and Swords, the Marina Market in Cork, as well as locations in Waterford, Limerick and Galway. Enjoy Ireland's #1 festive and family entertainment this season, this winter season, and we are right smack in the middle of it. Even the weather is telling you, go out, get your skates on and start doing it. Grab your tickets now at onice.ie. You need to practice because that's all we're going to be doing for the next while is skating. So get out there and go to On Ice. Okay, now it's time to sit down with one of the most popular and rapidly rising comedians in Ireland right now. That is Chris Kent. He had a successful career as an electrician, which he tells me all about, but he gave it all up to become a comedian. I was curious, obviously, to know why. So that's where we started our chat.
Des Bishop did a show in Knocknaheeny, where I'm from, called Joy in the Hood, and I knew some people on it, where he went into, let's say, disadvantaged areas and taught people how to do stand-up comedy and put a show on at the end. And then I went to see this, and it opened my eyes up to be like, wow, this is unbelievable. These are just I don't know who this person is. And it may be 7, 8, 9 people in a room, but they're doing comedy. I didn't think that was a thing, you know what I mean? It opened my eyes.
So comedy wasn't even something you had really registered
Not
before?
really, no, not really. I mean, I didn't even watch a lot of it growing up. But like, I knew of like maybe Des and Tommy Tiernan, but that would have been too much of a jump for me to go, I can't do that. But in a pub where you're getting guys and girls jumping up doing it that I don't know, doing well and doing not so well, that was inspiring me, and that planted a seed that I was like, I think I'd like to do this. And I was waiting to be told, you know, I was waiting to be like, you should give this a go, but nobody ever did.
Nobody did?
Nobody
but
did.
Were your friends not saying, Chris, you're funny?
Not really, no. I'd be funny to a very small group of friends and I'd be quite introverted everywhere else.
Yes.
So it was never like, oh, Chris is your man for the comedy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what Jason Byrne said. You were one of those people.
Yes.
He gets up on stage and he goes, I'm going to tell you stories tonight.
Yeah.
And they better be good stories because I know that half the people in this room are funnier than I am.
Yes.
Because Irish people are funny.
They are funny, yeah.
And yeah.
Absolutely no doubt about it. I didn't tell my parents about it for ages. I was on the TV and didn't tell my parents about it. I just had this thing where I kept it to myself for ages. My partner, my wife, who I was with back then but not married, I told her about it. I tried some open spots and I tried some, that's what you call it, and I got a little bit of a bug immediately. And then you have to travel around the country.
Okay, tell us about that bug.
So you get a bit of a buzz. The first 2 gigs went well, I think. Third one didn't. I remember that very well.
So you started well.
Started well, then the third one didn't. But these are in a small, tiny room.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one was a big enough gig. It was big for me back then. It was in UCC, and it was like a college night. But there might have been 100 people there, and I thought, this is absolutely incredible.
And if you get 100 people boxed in and energized, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, and I didn't really know what I was doing back then. I was kind of just going over my stuff. But you do have to be careful who you tell this stuff to. That's why you keep your cards close to your chest as you go. I remember telling an electrician about it, and I have a story about this. I was at the bottom of a ladder, you know, standing, holding this ladder for this electrician. And I was thinking about it back then. I was thinking about doing comedy. And he's a lovely man and he's a very funny electrician. And he came back down the ladder and I said, come here, I'm thinking about doing a bit of comedy. And he said, why the fuck would you do that? And he went back up the ladder. And I was like, I shouldn't have told him that at all. And at the time, we were wiring lights for a fashion show in Cork, in Mahon Point. And then the guy that was running the fashion show came over to me and he said, hey, you got a lovely package. And he just pointed at my crotch. And I was like, thank you. You didn't have to say that. So after picking me up a little bit. He said, did you ever think about doing a bit of modelling, underwear and stuff like that for a catalogue? And I was like, wow, this is unbelievable, you know? So he was like, call up to my hotel room, Silver Springs tonight. Now, I didn't think this was creepy at all at the time.
Okay.
Also, I had 2 hernias in my groin, which is mainly what he was looking at, right? But I was like, no one needs to know that. There's a bit of work on the cards here. So I'll never forget it. The electrician came back down the ladder after tea and he said to me, let's go. And I said, listen, your man over here wearing the lights for the fashion show, or that we're wearing the lights for the fashion show for, he's just been over to me saying I have a lovely package and I should, you know, think about modelling, and I could call up to his hotel room with a couple of pairs of underpants tonight. He reckons he can get me a bit of work. And that was in 2004, I would say, and I still can't get the way that electrician was looking at me out of my head. He said to me, I'm afraid to go back up the ladder. That's actually what he said. He said, I came down before tea, you're a comedian, I came down in now and you're going to that man's hotel room with an like, don't do that. He said,
kind of
please,
a Cork Harvey Weinstein moment.
Exactly. He was like, don't stay away from that weirdo. So later on in that weirdo's hotel room, I went ahead with it.
Yes.
And it was a very strange experience.
Right.
Where it quickly shifted from, I want you to model to, I think, would you ever think about doing pornography?
Okay.
And I was like, no,
Did
you're
it really?
fine. I swear to God.
He was actually interested in making porn.
I swear to God, yeah. And this is way before almost the internet is the way we see it today.
Talk about city limits.
So I went... Okay, I obviously backed out of that. I went away. I started my career as a stand-up. And it was a couple of years later, fast forward a couple of years later, I was supporting John Kenny, who just passed away this year, down in Middleton in Cork. And I told a story about being offered pornography in that hotel room, and I had loads of punchlines in it, like, you know, and it was like, at that stage I'd been going a couple of years. And I was sitting in the crowd watching John Kenny, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Even just getting to watch these comedians that I grew up looking at on the TV. And I got a tap on the shoulder. I was like, you're some lying cunt. And it was the electrician that was on the top of the ladder that, I said I wouldn't do comedy to, and I wouldn't do this thing to, just happened to come at this gig a couple of years later and see me.
Yay.
Sorry for dropping the C-bomb there really early in the podcast.
Yeah, it's a dirty podcast.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, that was a funny moment for me. Like, I was up there, I told this guy I was never going to do stand-up.
Great one-liner by him as well, by the way.
Yeah, he was very witty anyway.
Yeah.
He was really funny. And he probably didn't mean anything by it when he said, why would you do comedy? He was just being funny to me. He obviously didn't dissuade me, because here I am now talking to you.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you started doing it, I mean, it didn't obviously, like, financially didn't
make any sense for a long time.
I suppose where we are now is you knew you could do it, and you knew you had the graft for it. You had the bug. You liked being in front of an audience. Gigs were working out in terms of the vibe was good.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, and then did that take you up to kind of like before COVID period?
Yeah. This is like, I mean, I'm nearly doing comedy 20 years now. So
exactly.
this took me up
Jesus.
to... You start off exactly like you said, you're 5 minutes, you're 10 minutes not getting paid at all. Travelling up and down the country, like up to Belfast for nothing. I mean,
I've heard
my
about
parents would have thought I was crazy when I first started.
You travel up to many miles for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes, for no money. And the hope that they will like you and pay you further down the line, in hindsight, which is not even a great deal of money, really. So, that's why you kind of need to keep it to yourself in a way and go...
So how long did that period last? The travelling up and down for very little?
Oh, probably a couple of years. About a year and a half I was doing that.
That's not too long.
Yeah, but I did it for about a year and a half, and then I moved to Australia and I was working as an electrician over there, and then I started doing similar sort of gigs over there.
While you were an electrician?
While I was an electrician.
And presumably being an electrician in Australia is really quite well paid.
Fantastic, yeah. Brilliant.
And a great lifestyle.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Do you like the outdoors?
I loved it, absolutely.
Do you play sport at all?
I do. I did a bit of boxing when I was a kid.
It's good for pornography as well.
Exactly.
Australian porn
That's
is
what he was on about, the physique. He was like, you look great. I think
you get the shirt off that in Australia.
Yeah.
Home and away, the kind of the blue version.
Just in case I want to top it up or whatever.
Neighbours, how you doing?
Yeah. So it was like, I started to do comedy. I very much kept it as a hobby. So when I started comedy, it took me a while to tell everybody, and then I really played it down for a long time, saying it's just a bit of crack. I just like doing it. It's a bit of a hobby. I like doing it. But secretly, I was kind of working really hard on it, and I was thinking to myself, I'd love if this was my job. I'd absolutely love.
When you say you were working really hard at it, what does that mean for an aspiring comedian?
It means I was taking every single gig that was given to me, well paid or not, wherever it was. I just thought it would make me better. everywhere, Belfast, all over Ireland, up in as far as Derry, over to England to do these rough gigs and kind of working man's clubs, everything.
What are they like?
Oh, they're crazy, but they're great.
Give us an example. Like, what's the vibe like? How many people are there?
Good workings.
We've all heard of these working man's
There could be
clubs.
anything from 40 to a couple of hundred at these things. And back then, I found those gigs a little bit easier to play because everyone's on the same page in the crowd. When it's an area of that demographic, they're all on the same page already. So some of the work is done. They know where they're from. They know what the area is like. Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit of a togetherness there before you get to the mic. I really enjoyed those gigs. I come from a kind of a working class area myself. I really enjoyed those gigs. But like, again, it would have been just like a bit of a wheel of, okay, I'm enjoying the gigs now. I know I'm starting to get paid. I know I'm starting to get a decent 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes everywhere. So the next step then is to just try and build that out
into a set,
to a headliner set, and then into a show, an hour.
What's a headliner set? Is that
a headliner over
20?
here is about 40 minutes.
40
probably.
minutes, okay.
40 minutes, yeah.
And then a show is obviously
and then a show is an hour and a bit,
yeah,
an hour and a bit for a show, yeah. So you're just constantly grinding at it. And
you're chipping away and you're building
chipping
material.
away,
You're going, I like
material.
that bit that I do. I
Yeah.
like that bit about the kids that I do. And I put them all together and I build.
And you build a show
You
then.
build a show. Is the show a selection of bits, or is the show have any arc or any?
My first show was just bits.
Yeah.
Everything I'd accumulated for 5 years in the best order I could put it in. Just bits. Second show is probably similar. Third show started to have a bit of a team. I was growing up. I got married, so a lot of it revolved around being married, engagements.
So slightly autobiographical.
Yeah.
vibe to it.
And I had that kind of team to it. And then the second one becoming a dad, or the one after that was becoming a dad. So the team started evolving, and the arc then started evolving with that. Whereas most of my shows now do have a team and an arc and bring it all back at the end, which I really like to do.
Okay. And so there came a critical point then before COVID, right? Where things were going okay.
They were going okay, to be fair. I was doing decent-ish tours here. Yeah, decent tours.
And then COVID came, you had something ready to go.
Yeah.
And COVID came and that's knocked everything down.
Stopped everything from under, like pulled the rug from under me.
And did you have to go back to being an electrician then?
Yes.
But then
not immediately, but I mean, I remember so well. I was living in England at the time. I was walking to the train station, and the whole COVID thing was like all the venues that are over 500, that was the kind of word on the street, they're going to be all pulled. You know, this was the kind of hearsay before anything got cancelled in Ireland. And I was like, okay, so I'm fine. So I had 2 big gigs. I was like, they'll probably be postponed a month. I was walking to the train station, my agent rang me, and Leah Varadkar made the speech on the steps over in Chicago, I think. And she said, everything is cancelled. And I remember just turning around and trying to get a refund because I just bought my ticket for the train, you know. I was like, please can I have a refund? They gave me a refund. I'm walking back up to my apartment in St. Albans, where I used to live, and I was just like, oh my God. I had 4 months left on that tour. I'd kind of spent the money because I'd spent a year writing the show, half a year promoting the show. Do you know what I mean? All the tickets were sold to a certain extent, but now I wasn't going to get to do the work.
Yeah.
So that just felt like I was so grim. I was just like, oh no.
Because this was your jumping off point now. This was you flying.
Yeah, and I was like, how am I going to survive now? I don't even know how. And luckily they bought in things in the UK like they did here. Not so much the PUP, but there was another thing that we got a percentage of our earnings from a couple of years previous. But it ended up being really nice. There was several weeks where the weather was really nice.
Remember, yeah.
After I got over the shock of, okay, the gigs are probably not coming back for a while.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with my family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Out walking, running every day. Yeah. Just kind of simplified life for a while. And then we made a choice and we said, okay, we were kind of on the verge of heading back to Ireland anyway. And we said, let's go back. I think it was the middle of the second lockdown. We were moving back. We had to isolate and all that. I remember. And then I remember after that being in my childhood bedroom with my wife and kids. And I was like, oh my God, this is, you know, to go from potentially doing my first Vicar Street and, you know, my Everymans and all that, to be going childhood bedroom, wife and kids, posters they never should have seen, going, oh God, this is so depressing.
Give me one of those posters.
Yeah.
What one?
Oh, there would have been some serious array of posters. There was an old Ryan Giggs one that was nothing to do with football whatsoever. Just a very sexy Ryan Giggs. And I think my mother loved the poster more than anybody. And it was in our room, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just at that point I was willing to do kind of. Everyone was like, was it hard going back? Because I didn't work as an electrician for nearly 12 years at that point. And then I was handing out my CVs and I was like, oh, I just hope I get a job, anything, you know, because it looked like the gigs were not coming back. And lo and behold, my old company then took me back and I was so grateful of it. Yeah. And I've never been so nervous doing anything in my life. No gig has come near the nerves I had when I went back for the first day. Yeah. Yeah, no nerves. Nothing has ever touched it.
Did your career as an electrician or your trade as an electrician, were you able to harness it for comedy?
Absolutely.
What aspects?
Like I was never a bad electrician, but I preyed on the insecurities that electricians have and the paranoia that you'd have when you leave somewhere. Even though I'd be OCD about it and check everything 10 times, I preyed on that a little bit and went, you know, I said I wasn't a good electrician and I'd made jokes about that. And I bless myself every time I see a fire engine because I wired a house up there. But all these jokes were already out there and my company took me back then and they clearly knew I was joking, you know what I mean? Yes. But weirdly, the best thing that ever happened in a strange way, because that after a couple of months I really enjoyed the work. I really enjoyed being back on site, being an electrician again.
And did that inform you more then?
Yes.
About your comedy? Because this is another change in your life.
Yeah.
You're gone from being an electrician to being a kind of a journeyman travelling comedian.
That's right.
To getting better as a comedian, to getting bigger gigs, to having it all cut off.
That's all gone.
To going back to the bedroom, the electrician again. But did that moment, that period, the electrician period again, inform you future comedy?
Absolutely.
Again, going back.
Absolutely. I mean, what it did was it took off any pressure, because there was a lot of pressure there for a long time, financial pressure leaning on my comedy, and that was gone now. And when the gig started coming back, I had a job and the financial pressure wasn't leaning on it, so I felt way more creative and way more like just
free,
enjoying the comedy and going and not having to take every single gig that came my way.
That's the thing, when you're under pressure financially to deliver,
and you take these gigs that are just not nice.
Also, your creative limits are tighter.
You're less playful, I guess.
You're less playful. You're less of a monkey. You're less monkey play, and you're more tight. You're more. Let's just do the safe one here to get me through this gig.
Exactly.
Let's do the one that I can rely on.
Yes.
Rather than going, let's reach out and be more expansive and let's have a flight of fancy here, because you don't want to chance it in case it goes wrong.
I know. But it was even the fact that I didn't have to. There were certain gigs I would have had to take, and when I was a full-time comedian, and they came around every year or two, a certain club in a certain town that was really hard to do, and I never enjoyed it, but I found I had to take it because I might make a 90 quid off it at the end, and I was like, I need that money.
Yeah. But anybody who follows comedy, like the music scene or comedy scene, is now aware of you, because you've gone from that level up to the thing to you've kind of gone to another level now where people are kind of really aware of you, and that you're kind of, it's like, I know you say you've been at it 20 years, but you're like the hot new comedian.
In a way, an overnight success in 20 years.
People are talking about you, like.
People say, I just found you 2 years ago or a year ago.
That's right. And how did that happen, Chris?
So how that happened was, so I came to a point where I was working for a while, the gigs started to come back, the work started to get busier, and the gigs started to get busier at the same time. And me and my wife were trying to buy a house, which was really difficult at the time. And my lovely wife, I would have to thank her for it, she encouraged me. So after 8 or 9 months of looking for a house, I had a mortgage off my electrical job, the gigs started coming back. And she was like, I really think you should just go for comedy again, and we should give up the house, just give up the hunting for the house, because it was really demoralising, you know. She's like, but I was after becoming too secure in it. I had the gig, I had the electrical job, it was lovely, there was money in my bank account every Friday. Took me a long time to be like comfortable like that with money, and I was like, I don't want to let go of this. But she encouraged me. She was like, I know this is not what you want to do for the rest of your life, you want to be a comedian. And I had this thing in my head where I wanted to bring my electrical money up, my comedy money up to where my electrical money was. And I'll step off. I was like, I'll comfortably step from one step to the other. And my wife, Niamh, was like, that's never going to happen if you're doing this. You can't. Because I was doing 60 hours, 70 hours some weeks, then driving all around the country trying to do gigs. So, and then childcare as well was an issue, because I was at work, she was at work. So my wife was like, just give up the job and put out all of the clips. Start putting out all of your clips online. So that's kind of where it all started. That's where it came from. So weirdly enough...
So social helped you.
So social massively helped me. And weirdly enough, it was all those years and all those shows that I built up. I had so much material. I just started pulling all the clips together.
You had done 10,000 hours.
I'd done all that. And then I started kind of I remember when I gave up my job, I just kind of learned how to edit videos. I would go to the library every day, drop my kids to school, go to the library, edit a video, put it up, go back, edit a video, put it up. Nothing was happening for a month or so. And then eventually it just started going crazy, the Instagram. And then I put on another tour and it went like hugely big. Yeah. And now this other one now that I'm on now is going bigger again.
It's going bigger again, yeah. And so this is another symbol of that is the way you did it yourself. So this is what people have to do nowadays.
It is.
You do it yourself.
And it's so good.
You do it yourself. You get on. You edited your videos. You put them on. You promoted your Insta. You kept pumping them out.
Exactly. And it's great that you're not relying on a gatekeeper to open something for you.
And you probably responded individually to hundreds of punters who tagged you.
Loads.
Thanks a million. How are you?
And brilliant. Messages and absolutely.
Personal, one-on.
Yeah.
This is access. People have access to the artist.
Yeah.
And this is what you did.
And it's incredible. The difference it makes, I'm so grateful for it. It's genuinely like to go out and play in all these rooms where I just open for comics normally.
And does Neve now just blow her fingernails and just go, I was the one who told you?
She just does. She gets a good mention in my last tour about this whole thing.
Is she funny?
Not really, no. She's not. She'll tell you that herself.
I just want you to leave that. I want you to leave
the tumbleweed
bloke.
Yeah, leave it go.
You did a nice little laugh there to cover it.
She's funny in a different way. I'm sort of covering my tracks there now, but she brings a lot more to the table than funny. The table is my portion is just the funny bit, and she's got the rest of the table. So
take my money.
Introducing the Kentucky Original Wrap from KFC. It's a crispy original recipe fillet in a lightly toasted tortilla with black pepper mayo and iceberg lettuce. It's €2.90. It's a deal. And it's available at KFC now. Grab it before it goes. Until February 9th, subject to availability. Participating restaurants only. Not available on delivery. See website for full T's and C's.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
As a person with a wife and a family, and obviously a person who loves his family and his wife and trying to get a house and all this sort of stuff, did you have that sense of financial insecurity?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, the sense of,
and that was the biggest.
My biggest fear would be not having a house over my head, a roof over my head.
That was the biggest obstacle to taking up comedy full time again, because I thought I'd never get that opportunity again, as in get a mortgage, because I was like, we have a mortgage, I may never get a mortgage again. And my wife was like, so we can't keep doing this.
Fair play to
And
her.
what actually happened was I remember going out and then I put up all the videos, then the tour went huge and I went back to my mortgage broker, and it took about another year and a half to get another mortgage, because you had to reapply, because I had to give up the one with the electrician and get a comedy one. And then things looked grim again. And
that's not easy to get a mortgage as a comedy.
No, it isn't.
Even if you're earning more money than an electrician.
Yeah, because you just don't take it seriously. No. I could be earning 4 or 5 times the amount and they'd be like, yeah, but...
What about next year?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still an electrician at the end of it all, so I have something to fall back on. But funnily enough, things kind of worked out. You know, I went and I clipped all the things. Then I went on a tour. The tour was brilliant. In the background, we were trying to get another mortgage the whole time. And then we tried looking for another house. It wasn't working. It was even worse than it was 2 years ago. I feel so sorry for people that are looking for houses, honestly. And it was the middle of this year, which is when my tour was finishing up. The guy that we're renting the house off rang my wife and said, I know you're looking for another house. Just let me know when you have it, because I'm going to sell this house. I don't want to rent it to anybody. I'm not putting you under pressure, but he's a really lovely landlord. I'm just letting you know that please give me a heads up. And he kind of off-marked, said, unless he wanted to buy it. And then that's what happened. We ended up buying that house that we've been renting the whole time. Right at the end of this tour that I was worried about. So it was amazing.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
You we have a little funny story about going to an estate agent.
That's right.
Tell me that one. So you know exactly what we're talking about.
An estate agent, yeah. In Dublin. Yeah. I've had a long history with estate agents. When I moved to Dublin first, actually as a comedian as well, I was just a comedian. We went into this to look at this flat. You know, they have queues of people outside going in and looking. Yeah, so it was my turn with my wife, and this is probably 2009. We went in to have a look around, and the estate agent was kind of looking at us, and he's like, Culchies. And we were like, huh? He's like, you're not Dubsy? And we were like, no. He's like, Culchies. I knew that, yeah. He's like, you got Culchie features.
Jesus Christ.
I know. And we were like, nothing to do with our accents, and we've been talking.
And was he Dub?
He was from Roscommon. I swear to God. And he said, Jesus, if I saw a fella from Roscommon down the street, I'd pick him out straight away.
Really?
That's because you're from Roscommon. You probably know most of the people in Roscommon.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get over. He just kept saying, you've got Culchie features. He said it about 15 times. We didn't move into that place, by the way. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, comedy. Do you like playing? Is there when it comes to your ambition or your in your own mind's eye or picturing yourself? Do you see comedy in terms of no? I have a plan for myself. Or do you see it in terms of, well, we'll see what happens? So, for example, you could go, like, there are people who, and I love people with ambition. Yeah. You know, I frankly I frankly find comedians and artists and musicians who pretend they're not ambitious disingenuous.
Absolutely.
Because comedians are extremely ambitious.
So egotistical.
Very bitchy and very, very self-driven.
You're dead right.
Hugely. So to them to go, you know, he's a breadhead or he's just all about the ambition. Fuck off, so are you.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I have no problem with people, but some comedians are more flighty. They're more different. They go, well, we'll see what happens. And I'm driven, but we'll see what happens. And some comedians go, no, I want to be a comedian. And I also want to star in, I want to be a comedy actor in TV. And then I want to go to comedy movies. And ideally work with Jim Carrey or whatever. So do you have any like dreams at that level? I mean, for example, if somebody said to you, would you like to do an arena tour?
Oh, yeah.
You just go, give me the arena tour.
Yeah.
So you can see yourself standing on an arena with a microphone. Like your man Bridges or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to feel what that's like, you know. Even though part of my comedy brain would be like, that doesn't suit your style, Chris. You know what I mean? Your storytelling, your kind of. But then I've seen comedians like that in arenas, and it works.
And you see, also not only that, when you go into a big room like that, they have massive screens.
They have the huge screens
where
as well.
It's up your nostrils, so the intimacy is still there.
It's still there. Yeah. I'd love to do something like that. I mean, it's a dream. The rooms I'm in now, but I'm always kind of going in the back of like. The Marquee, that's the big one I'm doing this time. It's kind of
massive.
It's the biggest I've done. It's 4,500 or something. And I would have been passing that the whole time, going for my coffee when it was up.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I went to a load of shows there. Yeah, like way back in the day, and I've been to see loads of comedy there. And in my mind, I'd be passing and going, that's where I want to do my show. And I started saying it out loud to people, actually, which I think is important. Say it to other comics. I want to do the.
You were manifesting?
I was manifesting, man. Okay. I was like, I want to do the Marquee. I want to do that.
You have to say it.
And you just say it, and some people may go, oh, what an arrogant prick or whatever, but you have to go, yeah, I'd like to do that. I've been doing it long enough. I've been working hard enough, and I think, like, you know.
Yeah. I think maybe Irish people are changing slightly in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think people of your age and younger are more receptive to their peers saying, I'd like to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't think they go, would you ever go out of it?
Yeah, because I kind of like to think of it in the way with my kids. If my kids ever came and said, I want to try and do this, I would never try and dissuade them from an ambition or, you know, I want to be a footballer, I want to be
I think our self-image as a people has changed.
It has a bit,
radically. Over the last 30 years, 40 years.
But there is still a line, I think. There is still a line. And there are some people that are kind of, you know, very ambitious like that, but don't have anything to back it up, really. You know what I mean? There's still people that will go, but they don't want to do the work either. They go, I want all this. I want to be the biggest ever comedian. But then they don't do anything.
Comedy is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work,
You kind of became an overnight sensation after 20 years of work. So you arrived as a fully formed comedian, but people thought you were a new comedian.
People thought I was a new comedian,
He's very polished now for a new comedian. But actually you'd done 20 years of work.
I've done loads.
How do you work?
It varies down through the years. So I think quality over quantity. I tried, when I lived in Dublin, I used to rent an office in town. The Dublin Fringe would give you an office. You had to book into the office, and I'd stay in there for maybe 3 days a week. I'd try and go in there for 6 or 7 hours. But I'd never write for 6 or 7 hours, ever. I'd do an hour, and then I'd go and have a cup of coffee or a scone or something and come back and do another little hour. So I think these days
I'd stay in there.
I would. I'd leave the office for an hour.
You'd stay for the 6 hours.
Yeah. I would try to. Yeah, or go to a library or something and write and rewrite and listen back to old gigs and
would you
try and try and, make the routines better and all that.
When you say make the routines better, that's a mixture between two things. It's coming up with new material,
yes,
new thoughts, new ideas, a little, what Americans call a bit.
A bit.
They call it, he's got a bit on this.
That's right, yeah.
And so you do a bit on this, but also you would try and maybe improve your existing bits.
Exactly.
And that's a lot to do with the use of language.
Yeah, and pace and cadence and everything like that, and just like knowing the beats of a bit. It all evolves.
Are you a language nerd when it comes to your...
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I like my shows kind of, they progressed. They go from being nothing, like being like, okay, I'm getting, I don't even know where the laughs are coming in this, but I know it's funny, but I haven't really worked it out yet. And then you go back to the drawing board and go, listen back and say, they laughed at this bit, this bit, and this bit, and they didn't laugh at these 3 bits, so I need to figure out why. I need to connect them, or maybe I'm saying it backwards or the other way around. Or and I'd be always fairly keen to try the new stuff. So when it came to even in the comedy clubs, I'd be like, oh, I've played here last year in the Laughter Lounge or wherever else. I don't want to do anything I did here last year. Or in the, Cat Laughs Festival, I'd be like, I was here last year. I'm not doing any of the jokes I did last year. I don't want to. So I'd really challenge myself. So even though I'm uncomfortable with the material I had, instead of last year's, I'd be like, I'd rather do this. And if you can pull it off in a big room, it kind of gives you confidence as well.
Do you ever do tryout nights where you...
Yes, loads of them.
And they could be very freeing in a way.
They can be, yeah.
They could be even funnier than a real night.
I did my whole Edinburgh this year was a work in progress. So that was the bill. That was like, it's me with notes on the stage trying to get this story together,
Yeah, brilliant.
So that was it.
I remember the reason you're on this show is because I met you on the Two Johnnies,
yes.
And you were doing a number of bits there as well. And I remember one bit was really, really funny. It was about you can tell it to me if you don't mind.
Go on.
If you don't want to give it away.
It's all gone. Everything online is gone.
Did he have insurance? The kid.
Oh yeah,
and what was the genesis of that bit? I love that bit.
Okay, so that was
family friendly humor as well.
That's a true story. So when we were in England, my job would have been, this was when I was a full-time comedian, before anything went away, I would bring my kids into Montessori, I suppose. And it was, I bring him into Montessori every day, I bring him back, and I go to collect him one day and he's been in an accident in Montessori, and they take it so seriously. And I couldn't believe, I was like, he's there, I can see him. And I'm so sorry, Daddy, Jack's had an accident today. And she was like, he fell out of one of our red and yellow plastic cars, registration, DFUNZ. And then they have an accident report form that I've never seen. I've never seen anything like that. It's an A4 piece of paper. It's all text about your accident report form, and there's the diagram like of a toddler on it. So there's the outline of a toddler on it. You know when you're going to rent a car and you see the diagram of a car, and they'll have any existing damage circles. That's what they have on this form. And there's a big circle around his head, and I was like, that wasn't there this morning. Now I was like, but she wasn't taking any of my humour at all. Because I'm pretty deadpan, And she said, can you sign the accident report form before you take Jack today, Daddy? And I said, I will, of course. But look, just before I do, is he going to lose his no claims bonus? but she was just like, I don't know. And she just went and genuinely went, I'm going to find out. And she left to ask.
That's the funny
And I was
part.
just like, I didn't have to write it. It was just like...
Beautiful.
It all kind of just wrote itself like it.
Yeah, and... Listen, I mean, this is almost not a racist thing to say, but a kind of a sort of a kind of a countryist thing to say, but in a kind of a really kind of computer says no, big society like Britain, you often get that
a little bit,
no, because they are worried about offending you, so they draw the line and go when they hear you say, does he have a no claims bonus, their brain goes, don't risk it. Don't pretend it's a joke or I'll be fired. He couldn't be joking. It's not a joke. It's real. So go, I don't know. I'll go check. Whereas in Ireland, they'd go, fuck, you're a comedian.
Exactly.
They'd be more likely to catch you on that one and enjoy the crack.
I was delighted. It was great.
Yeah.
But I've had the reverse over there as well. With I remember I tried to order myself some breakfast one time, and I've talked about this before. I said, can I get I'll have scrambled eggs and bacon, and can you make the bacon crispy? And like 20 minutes later, the waiter came back and he put down the eggs and the bacon, and then he said, your crispy potatoes on the way, sir. And I was like, I didn't order any potatoes. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened. I said, I think I have a fair idea, pretty sure you heard my accent 20 minutes ago and you haven't been able to get the word potatoes out of your head. Because there's not even potatoes on the menu. That's how I know. I was looking for them. But then he was like, I made a little bit of a big deal of it, and he said, would you like me to cancel the potatoes? And I was like, no, bring them over. But I'm not paying for them, So I was like, we'll get them back that way, 2 or 3 potatoes at a time.
One of the ways
that was my routine.
One of the ways I think you one of the ways, just from watching you, one of the ways you get laugh is you're quite deadpan.
Yeah, I know.
So you're delivering the line stony-faced, a bit like you did to the waiter and to the lady.
And then they don't know I'm joking.
Then you don't know you're joking.
That's the problem, yeah.
Yeah. So you know the way you sort of look at a comedian and you'll go, well, when I've looked at comedians, I've always gone, to be a really good comedian where people kind of know them and really enjoy them, they have to have some semblance of a persona.
Yes.
Whatever that persona is. It's hard just to go out as a fella or as a woman and just go out and tell jokes. You have to be coming from some place. What is that place? It might be taciturn. It might be stoic. And I think your one is one of the kind of the deadpan.
It's definitely what gets sort of put my way most of the time is that you're deadpan and you don't.
And was that always?
It's not a conscious effort. It's just me.
It just happened.
Me. It's just always the way I've been.
Yeah.
Always been told I've been laid back. And weirdly enough, around my kids and stuff, I'm very different and very animated, and I put on voices and do impressions around my friends and stuff even. I'm good for doing impressions of like maybe other comics around comics or, you know what I mean? But on stage, when I'm telling stories, it's not a conscious effort. It's just like I like building something. I like getting loads of material out of one tiny little thought. Do you know what I mean? So like I remember having like 7 or 8 minutes about like a bowl of porridge or something. You know what I mean? Or a clothes horse. I'd be like, I would get a great kick out of. I remember joking about a clothes horse in these sort of those workingmen's clubs now, and on a Saturday night or a Friday night where there's hens and stags in, and if I can hold their attention talking about a clothes horse, it was a big. I'd get a good kick out of it, like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'd get a good kick out of it.
I can see why, yeah. And those working men's clubs reminds me of a story actually Ian told me. I don't know if you know this, Ed. It was David Bowie, and David Bowie was a great kind of storyteller.
Yes.
Of his days coming up through the ranks and everything, and just working away,
Yeah.
Because people see him as a superstar, but he was actually very normal. They had a very normal side to him, and he was there like, I was playing in a working man's club, and this guy came out, and he was obviously the guy there, and he went, how's it going? And he went, yeah, there's you in the dressing room over there, and okay. And I came out and I saw it, and I said, there's no toilet, so, is there any, where's the jacks? And your man came out and he went, there you go there, and it was just this tiny little sink. Really dirty little sink with one little tap.
Yeah.
Tiny little sink. And I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he went, it were good enough for Shirley Bassey, it were good enough for you.
That's great.
Because Shirley Bassey had obviously played there, and you can just get the physical image, Amazing, yeah. So, but it's fair to say you're taciturn, or no, not taciturn, but the stoic and the kind of deadpan. And a lot of it is observational.
Yeah, it is observational.
And observational is great. Yeah. Well, nearly all humour is observational, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm doing my sketches, I'm observing to do the sketches.
Yes.
But there is a kind of when I think of observational humour, I think of somebody like Michael McIntyre.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Who I think is just amazing.
Incredible.
Right? But I don't know if you have any comment on this. I would hardly ever seen a comedian get as much abuse from other comedians.
Yeah. I know.
Why is there? Why? So my question to you is, because you're from the inside more, why would there be a hatred for somebody who's so obviously fucking brilliant at what they do?
I think, there is a bit of snobbery.
It's as if he's robbing all the material of somebody else.
No. I think it's comedians would be quick to label it as hack.
What's hack?
Hack is like, it's been done. It's not an original thought. You're not the first person to joke about X, Y, or Z. Do you know that way? They're like, okay, you need to be doing your own stuff. I know a lot of comedians that love Michael McIntyre as well. I saw him in London. It was absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
Like belly full of laughter.
And talk about what you talked about, the crafting the gag.
Yeah. Absolutely
Awesome.
brilliant. But I think it's easy. I think maybe it's a way of comedians. I'm not sure if they all necessarily even believe it themselves. It's a great way for comedians to bond, to be like, do you know who's shit? Or do you know who I don't like?
Yeah.
And maybe it's an insecurity thing, and I'm not saying I've never done it myself, but like I think it may be the unpopularity, and he's there, so everyone is a reference that everybody knows. Yeah. So it's an easy one for everybody to talk about. Right. Whereas if you were like, do you know, actually who's not great is, I don't know who you're talking about there, so you can't really bond about it. So part of his popularity lends to that, really. Yeah.
So because that's partly because I would look at him now and I would go, I'm going against the grain here, because I'm going, everything I'm watching here is just like,
he's clearly great.
This guy is streets ahead of other craftsmen when it comes to crafting that gag. And working it into his own kind of persona, middle class kind of Range Rover driving persona, which is quite tough to pull off.
It is, he owns it. Owns it.
Very middle class.
A lot of comedians do like to rip him down a bit, but like it's just...
Now at the same time, I fall around and laugh like a drain at Frankie Boyle.
Yeah, me
going
too.
Down the misery road.
I opened for him in last January, and he might even have a pop off Michael McIntyre, but in a funny way probably. He'd be brave enough to do a gag on the stage about him.
But I fall around the place laughing at his stuff.
Oh, he's brilliant.
And the deadlier, the more grim, the better.
He's used to language, and he's just so... His punchlines are just... beautiful, you know. Yeah. I opened up from last year, took a break from my back at tour and opened up from all over Ireland, and it was just great. So much fun. A different skill. I'm going back now. I had the big tour. I had to go back and do Frankie's, be a support act, walk out when no one's expecting you or wanting you, and win them over. You know what I mean?
Did you ever...
I'm not that guy again.
Did you ever... Sorry, did you ever support somebody, blow them away, and then the comedian that's coming on, the main act, is going, fuck you anyway?
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, no. I think it'd be a very hard thing to properly do, because they're there to see the other person. Yeah. And people will say, I think I did better. But, you know, if one person or two people said, I thought you were better than the main guy, there's still 1,000 people in the room. There's only 2 people that have said it to you.
Sure.
Still 998 people who've paid to see the other guy.
Yeah.
And you can test that theory very quickly by booking your own show in that room and see how that goes for you.
Exactly. Good luck with that.
Yeah. So I remember opening for Frankie, actually, and because you have to get used to that. Like, you know, I was opening from down in Kilkenny, and they were just a little bit raucous. They were like, oh God, security came over to me and they were like, it's okay, we've already thrown this fella out. He's thrown his shoes up onto the stage. So we thrown him out, and I was like, okay, thanks for telling me. And then when I started the gig, I was talking away, and these guys were just chatting away down to my left, and I looked down and one of them had no shoes on, and I was like, I don't know, did he get back in, or has this like become a trend or what? But I think he snuck back in. Fair play to him. Yeah.
Do you enjoy watching other comedians online or even in person?
I do watch, I do enjoy still watching comedy. Even just people who are warming up for me now or supporting me. I love watching and reading the room almost and going, all right, that they're laughing at that little bit now tonight, so I can get a good gauge for the crowd then, you know. But yeah, I absolutely love watching comedy. It's amazing.
Do you?
Yeah, I still do. I still love it. I genuinely do.
I find it hard because I get worried for the comedian.
Yeah.
So I go, I want you to be winning.
Yes.
And I'm going, please make him win early and now.
Yeah.
So that the crowd are on his side.
But a lot of comedians will enjoy watching comedians do the opposite.
I couldn't do that.
And die on their arse.
Do they?
Yes.
Bollocks.
If you can be in on the joke, if a comedian is doing it in a rough, like a corporate or something like that, and they're having little digs on the way down, they're kicking and screaming on the way down. Is
that what you call it?
I think
kicking and screaming on the way down. You're gone, like,
you know, you're grabbing onto stuff, and you're just having
more
digs and more, and you're just kind of. I think there can be an enjoyment in that.
The other thing is that, in my experience, the cliche that all audiences are different is generally true. That even if you've got good material and the tour is working, even every night is different though.
It is, yeah. Even when they come to see you, it is a bit different, yeah. And the more of those you do, probability wise, you're going to stumble across one that you were like, I didn't particularly enjoy that, even though they did, or you know what I mean, or people misread it from. Yeah, it's kind of where people bring people that maybe don't like you or something. Something can happen. There's a lot of other factors involved.
And some audiences are louder and more raucous than others.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean they're having a better time.
And sometimes it's the room as well. The room is magic. Sometimes you can take an audience out of one room and put them into a different room, and it sounds completely different.
What's your favourite room?
Oh, it's hard. That's a hard one. Some of the comedy clubs in the UK actually are pretty amazing.
Are they?
You're going down into a little basement, low ceiling, people sitting all around you.
Yeah.
The stand over in Newcastle and Glasgow, they're just really good.
Yeah.
They're all around you. Same at City Limits in Cork. It's all kind of around you.
Yeah.
It's kind of cabaret, but it's proper comedy club.
That's right.
And then Vicar Street, obviously, as well.
Great room.
The Olympia.
Yeah. I would say the Olympia for me anyway. My experience, because of the 3 tiers going up and the fact that you can nearly see the whites of people's eyes.
And they're right on top of you.
Yeah. But there's a 1,200 people there.
I have that with the Everyman in Cork. It's like a miniature version of that,
Olympia,
I think. It's still 600-700 people, but they're right on top of you. And I just feel like it's intimate enough where you can kind of chat to them. And
stupid question, I mean, because people, do you get nervous?
Not massively anymore. Okay. No, not massively. Unless it was something like maybe a TV thing, or maybe
a new experience,
or maybe when I'm writing a new show and I don't know the show fully yet, I might be a bit nervous.
Writing it even,
as in like when it's always when it's evolving and you don't know it fully, and you're like,
does Niamh come to all your shows?
No.
Does she come to any of them?
Few of them, couple a year.
Does she comment?
The odd time.
Like constructive criticism?
Yeah, constructive criticism. That's, I remember she said to me in Edinburgh, it just needs to be better and funnier, and you need way more jokes. And I was like, that's kind of obvious, it's inventing the jokes is the hard part. But no, she's very supportive, and she's great.
She must be delighted with you.
She is. She's so happy.
You guys made this together. This was
absolutely. The both of us are in it, and she's been there a long time. This was like 6-7 years ago when I was driving to these places. Even when we moved to the UK, it was kind of starting again. I'm driving up to Liverpool tonight to try and get in with these lads. You know what I mean?
I'm driving back.
She's been there the whole time. Yeah. She's been genuinely incredible and very supportive.
You're Irish.
Yes.
You're good enough. You're good looking enough to work in porn. You said it.
He said a mask. He was going to put a mask on me, that guy, actually, because I was worried about my anonymity.
You're young.
Yeah.
You have a kind of a Ben Stiller-ish physical quality to you.
Right.
I would say. Would you like to try America? Well, why not?
Love it. Absolutely.
Do you like America?
Yeah, I did some gigs over there. I did the Kansas Irish Festival.
How did you feel about it?
Brilliant. Absolutely loved it. I'd love to do some in New York and Boston and places, though, because I never gigged there. I'm sort of working on getting a visa, so I want to get a visa that'll do me for a year or two, and I can nip over there and do a few gigs. I'd love it, absolutely love. Just to experience it, like especially the New York clubs and maybe some clubs in LA and Boston. I would love it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I need to get my act together and get the visa on the go, but things have been. I
love
busy.
the fact that you're not self-effacing and that you want to go out there and I think the fact that you spent so long wanting it has led you to be quite frank and open about your desire to own it.
Oh, absolutely.
And to enjoy the moment.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. That's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much, Mario.
Chris, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Likewise.
I really enjoyed talking to you. And so where is your tour going and where is it?
So I'm in the Olympia for a couple of nights.
What dates are those now?
The 23rd of January. And then in February, there's an extra one in February.
Okay.
All over the place, chriskentcomedy.com. I will also be in the Marquee in Cork on the 11th of July. So that's the kind of big one in Cork.
That's a big one. That's the summer.
INEC in Killarney as well. But I'm all over the place. I'm doing loads and loads of gigs.
That's summer. Listen, best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
It's been really interesting talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you. Cheers, Mario.
And my thanks to Chris Kent for coming in and telling me his fascinating backstory. It was really interesting talking to him, and I wish him all the best. And he doesn't need my wishes for good luck. He's doing absolutely fantastically. So that's it for this week's Mario Rosenstock podcast. Thanks to you, our listeners, and thanks to my sponsor, of course, On Ice. Get out there. They're all the way around the country. They're in Dundrum and Swords in Dublin. They're in the Marina Market in Cork, and they're in Galway and Limerick and Waterford as well. So get out there and enjoy the ice, whether it's outdoors or indoors on ice. They are perfectly positioned at the moment in this marketplace in Ireland. Thanks to you. Tell one other person about this podcast if you can. And thanks for listening. See you same time, same place next week. Happy New Year. Great to have you back. Bye.
Take my money.
Introducing the Kentucky Original Wrap from KFC. It's a crispy original recipe fillet in a lightly toasted tortilla with black pepper mayo and iceberg lettuce. It's €2.90. It's a deal. And it's available at KFC now. Grab it before it goes. Until February 9th, subject to availability. Participating restaurants only. Not available on delivery. See website for full T's and C's.